Hey, how you doing? Welcome back. Once again, my name is Brian. This is the Live Life Now podcast, and this episode is about what it is like being in a movie, on television, either as an actor, maybe as an interviewer or interviewee, or maybe an audience member. I've had all these different experiences, and I figure I'd share a little bit about my personal experiences and what it was like, and get maybe a little insight of how you too could do things like these things if you like them and want to pursue them. So I've done a couple different things when it comes to movie and television situations. Okay, number one, I was in a movie known as N/D. You can go to a website called Vimeo.com and search in the word slash, SLASHD, so N/D, and you'll be able to find it. Now, this movie was completed by my friend and longtime friend. I've known him since kindergarten, and this was a big time passion project of his. He knew that I was not an actor, but that I had done a lot of creative things, and he kind of brought me in as like somebody he felt he could trust and basically guide him, because he was going to be dealing with a lot of different people that he was going to have to compensate. He knew I would just do it for free as his friend, like whatever he asked for, basically. And I really was excited at the idea. It seemed like a great possibility to be part of a movie and then be like part of a production and see what it was like. He wrote an original script, and he was playing the lead character, or at least one of the lead characters of the film. Maybe not the actual lead, but definitely in the top three most important characters of the film. And I was there from the very beginning. Once he started getting people, he started meeting with directors. He started auditioning actors. He was at an acting studio, so I got to be there literally from all of that, and through the scouting of locations, also during the filming itself. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there through the entire filming of the movie itself. I could have been, but I was out of town. I was on some traveling at the time. This was in 2013, and the movie didn't officially come out though till years later, when he had finally had it edited and was able to make it a priority in regards to getting it the way he liked it, because he was looking to make it the best possible. And it's not easy. As somebody who's a creative person, getting your goals and the reality of what you create to line up sometimes don't always work out the way you think they're going to. If you come up with even these podcasts, like they might be a little different than I had in my mind for the talks I was going to have. I'm just kind of going with the flow and not overthinking it. But every time that I do a new subject, there might be little things I wish I had said or not said. It's the same thing with movies. Even if you have a script, even if you have quality directors and actors, things might not always go the way you mentally pictured them going or looking. So anyways, as part of that, so I was there as basically there was a documentary portion. This is an independent film. And so there was a documentary portion of the movie inside. So there was a documentary in the movie itself about the movie. I won't give away too much, but long story short, I was helping with the documentary footage. I was often with the camera, interviewing others, just documenting moments. We documented everything for the most part. Every time we would have like a production meeting of some sort, or we were interviewing auditioning the actors. Not only were their auditions recorded, but also afterwards I interviewed them and asked them how are they feeling, what did they like, what didn't they like, whatever came to mind in that moment. Also, we recorded behind the scenes during the filming of the movie itself, and not just of the actors, of the crew, of everybody. So that was kind of cool. Also, besides doing a lot of the filming for that, and you hear my voice in the movie quite a lot. I ended up being in the movie itself. Some of the documentary footage with me on camera talking ended up not only in the movie, but also in the movie trailer, which was nice. I also ended up doing a lot of other stuff. Like, for example, the day that I was on set, I was doing lighting on occasion. I was helping with audio. I helped some of the social media promotion of the film. I also, there's a part in the film where there's like a TV playing in the background that you don't see what's on TV, but you overhear the TV, in the background. And I did the voices of the television people in the background. It was supposed to be based off of the Biggest Loser, and then so it was like the reality show going on in the background, and I was the host. So not only do I appear on camera and on audio as documentary, but I appear in audio in the actual acting part of the movie too, plus all the other things I just mentioned. I also took a lot of photography and things behind the scenes, and we used all that for the social media and stuff. So that was a great experience. One, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do again, but I hope to one day. I definitely feel much better at acting now than I would have been then. Although in that case, since there was documentary footage, I didn't have to act, but I definitely would try to get other people to have certain reactions and things when I could, so we could get cool footage that could be used in the film. I try to ask them provoking questions and things, for example, when I interviewed them. So that was the gist of my movie experience. However, I've been on television quite a few times. TV-wise, some of the basic ones were everything from being interviewed, like man on the street type of situations. I was interviewed in Miami once. There was a show called Whammy. There was a TV station called Whammy, and they would show old TV shows, kind of like syndicated TV shows, but then they had their own original programming. And this was in Miami in probably the late 90s, early 2000s. And they just happened to run into me on the street. This was supposed to be a live interview. We recorded it like 5 or 6 times until they got something that they liked out of me, I guess. And the live interview ended up airing like 45 minutes actually after we did all these numerous takes, just talking about what my favorite shows on the station and stuff. I also once was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I was going by all the baseball stadiums, and I was outside the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball stadium, and the local news people saw me buying tickets to go do the stadium tour and thought I was a fan of the team, which I really wasn't, but I was there to see the stadium, and they have one of the nicest stadiums in Major League Baseball. And they just interviewed me like about the team, talking. I never actually got to see that one air, but I'm assuming it aired later that night. The Whammy one where I got interviewed man on the street, definitely I got to see that. My parents ended up recording it later on when it actually happened live, right? Beyond that, I've been on television quite a few times as an audience member for TV shows, for very famous TV shows. All the most famous daytime and nighttime talk shows. I've done a lot of virtual audience work. I've also done a lot of in-person stuff. I've sat front row. I've sat way in the back. Sometimes I appeared on camera. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes if I did appear on camera, you just see me in a little glimpse. Other times, especially on the virtual ones, sometimes I was front and center. And when the pandemic was happening and everything was virtual, sometimes I was like, I was on there 5 to 10 minutes sometimes, just in the background, but with clear shots of me and stuff. And what you quickly realize about TV is that it's obviously, we know television is fake and a lot of things are scripted and all these things. But my personal experience is TV is even more fake than you think it is. The audiences are constantly told to clap and smile and laugh and whatever they're looking for. So you're not getting a genuine reaction from the audience, from a TV audience most of the time. Can you get genuine reactions? Of course. It does happen, especially if something surprising or interesting occurs. But for the most part, you are basically not on TV. You were the soundtrack in the background. You're the equivalent of like a prop of sorts, but you do get to see the shows and stuff, which is cool. So like I think I mentioned, I've done about 30 different TV shows as an audience member. I did them in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've done a lot in California, like in Los Angeles. I was also, the virtual ones were all over the place in different parts of the United States. So they were virtual. I was at my house for those, even if the TV show was in New York or whatever the case may be. So that was definitely a cool experience. And but the in-person ones that I did in Los Angeles, those ones was a lot of hours. Sometimes you're just sitting around and they want to do another take, or whatever the case. Hey, the audio didn't line up. You had to stick around until they finished. So it didn't matter if you wanted to go home. Like, no, they wanted you to be there. And yeah, some of them may have let you leave after a certain time, but for the most part, you were there throughout the whole thing. So that was, good and bad. And those were usually free. You weren't getting paid for those things. Some people can get paid for those things, though. There are talent agencies out there that will pay for audience members. How much are they getting, you may ask? I mean, I spoke to some of the people sometimes when I was an audience member in person, probably get about $50 in all reality. So it's not much. But it may be for 4 hours of your time, depending on the TV show. So maybe it's worth it. Maybe you appear on TV. Maybe you can add it to your credits if you were trying to do something like that. So one of the ones that we actually got to be like the star of the performance, let alone, have it air many times. And it was when my band Sinphemy performed on Miami Music Television. This was in 2011, 2012. I mentioned in a previous episode of this podcast that I know it aired 4 times. I believe it might have aired 5 or more, but I didn't watch every week. I didn't always, at the time, record every episode back when that was a thing. So I can't be 100% sure. Now, the show liked to advertise that they were in 50 million homes across the United States and across some of the Caribbean and wherever else. 50-something million people did not watch my performance in my band, even if it aired that many times. This was a late night show. This was a show that aired on the weekends after the news. So when there would have been a late night talk show during the week, this would be the local programming. In South Florida, it aired on ABC. So that was definitely a big deal. It was a major station. It wasn't like a cable station. This was one of the main, networks of the United States. So that was probably my biggest TV moment and TV/movie moment overall. I got to record one of my original songs. Our song called Mute was performed. I remember when we recorded it for TV, it was not done live. It was recorded at a venue with cameras, and there were other performers performing the same day. Many famous musicians and actors appeared on that show in interviews or in their own performances. So it was really cool. Sometimes I might be on an episode with Julian Lennon from John Lennon's Sons from the Beatles, or Clarence Clemens, who was the saxophone player for Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, or Pitbull, and different people would pop in and out of these episodes, and then my band might be thrown in there too. So it was kind of neat. And then some of the people that I performed with on the day of ended up having probably a little bit more successful music career than I did. So that was neat. So we performed 4 songs. They picked the one they liked the best. They added some stuff for TV, which was interesting, like Smoke Machine. Never performed with one of those before, like the Dry Ice. They gave them more of a dramatic effect. So that was neat. I never had done something like that. Add a little production to our stage performances for our band. I liked it. Um, Also, I must say that it was weird because we had like a host and like introduced us, which was nice. It definitely felt like we were performing for like a late night talk show or something in that aspect. But the venue was pretty much empty. Um, we weren't really performing for much of like an audience. It wasn't like a normal concert per se. We were there specifically to record. So I always will kind of wonder how many people have seen that performance. You can find it on YouTube. I've uploaded the clip to YouTube. So if you go through the description in this video, go through the links on YouTube, you can find it. Sinphemy Mute on Miami Music Television. But yeah, so my general experiences have been pretty positive. Just knowing that TV and movies are a lot of stopping and starting. There's a lot of multi takes. A lot of things are not really live when they say they are. A lot of the audience are acting as well. And so it's not always what you think it is. So when you see it behind the scenes, you do get a sense of like, wow, like, I don't know if I even want to be part of this sometimes. Like, what is this? This is like make believe, but it's all in fun, at the end of the day. And I had a good time, even the ones that I didn't get specifically on TV with. You never really know, because a lot of times you don't see yourself on TV. You don't know what they're filming as they film you in like an audience situation, unless it's virtual. When it was virtual, which is stopped at this point, you usually could see yourself being recorded on the back screen, and you would know in advance. But then they would swap you in and out to keep it interesting. Sometimes they would film multiple episodes on the same day, so they would move you around so that it didn't look like the same audience. So these are the type of TV tricks that'll take place that you may not even realize are occurring when you're just watching a show, especially when they have an audience. Now, if you want to get into doing this type of thing, there are options for that. There are some sites out there where you can pay to be an extra as part of shows, or maybe like a background person. Most of these sites, though, they do have fees. It's usually, if I'm not mistaken, it's about $100 a month from my personal experience looking into them. And what you do is you can probably Google it, look into TV work or extra work or something like that. There'll be a site. They will interview you, probably along with a group of people. They will ask you to sign up and pay. They will send you either a link where you can pick out things where you can be an extra in the background, or they may even choose you to specifically be in certain little projects. And some of these projects are paid, some of them are free. But the goal is that you're going to get paid, even though you're paying like $100 a month to be part of these sites. So you have access to all these projects from major studios and TV things and movies. You will ultimately, in theory, make that money back and hopefully make a lot more, especially if you can do it full time. So those fees are worth it, as they help you get your foot in the door with companies. But you need headshots, you need a bunch of stuff. You can't just go in with nothing. They're gonna want that stuff from you ultimately, or they're gonna probably ask you to, if you want them to help you with it, and they'll charge you to help you do it. So there's a lot of things like that. So look into these things if these are of interest to you. If you're in Los Angeles or New York, there's sites out there. Once again, look for free audience tapings, things like that. There's a site called 1iota, for example, I used a lot to get in the audiences of these shows. But there's a couple different sites, different casting sites, and you can get your name out there, appear in your friends' indie movies if you can. If you join acting classes, you can probably make contacts and meet people that are doing their independent projects. If you go to school, if you're still in like college, sign up for acting classes there, or look into acting studios in your area. And there's a lot of different things you can put on. It doesn't always have to be TV or movies. It could be plays. There's a lot of off-Broadway stuff out there for sure. So these are just a couple of my thoughts and recommendations. But just summing it all up, TV and movies are not always what you think they are, especially when you see the kind of the behind the scenes of them. But overall, I still had a great time, and I would gladly do it again in the future. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.